Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into our final broadcast here of Zoo Radio for the 2019-2020 school year. My name is Jesse Friedman. I am the General Manager and Sports Director of Zoo Radio. It is my honor to be your host today on what we are calling, or what I am calling, the Mic Drop Radio Show. Here is as all of us seniors here on the Zoo Media staff, we have gathered together. We are missing two seniors that we want to give a shout out to. Brenda Covarrubias and Carly Ricker were unfortunately not able to make it today, but the rest of us seniors who are on the Zoo Media staff are here. We are ready to have a fun conversation to recount some fun memories from our time in Zoo Media. And we're going to go ahead and get started with just some brief introductions so you know everyone's name and what their role is on staff here before we jump in. So I will go ahead and get started, and then we will just go around after that. So my name, as I said, is Jesse Friedman. I am a math major, which may come as a shock to many of you. But yes, I'm a math major, journalism minor, hence my involvement in Zoo Media. I already said my role. One thing about me that nobody already knew, or that at least the people here may not already know about me, is that my cousin is the voice of the Aflac duck.
Dude,
No
so
way.
Cool. I had no idea.
No
It's
way.
pretty great. And honestly, what's funny about this is that I feel like usually when, people ask me to share something interesting about myself, I generally don't share anything about myself. I just kind of go straight to my cousin because he's just way more interesting than I am. So that's kind of my go-to answer with that. But that is my answer. We will go ahead and jump to Michaela, and I'll let you guys all go around and introduce yourselves as well.
All right. My name is Michaela. I am the editor-in-chief of Zoo Magazine for this semester. Oh, and my major is journalism, and I have a minor in honors humanities as well. And one thing about me that I don't know, I think Nate might know this, but I don't know, maybe Cheyenne, I have a tattoo of an avocado on my ankle. So,
ooh, all right.
Okay, why'd you get it?
Why did I get it? Because it was my 21st birthday, and I wanted to do something funky, so yeah.
What else would you do on your 21st, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, I'm up. My name is Cheyenne Jimenez. I'm the copy editor for Zoo Magazine. I'm a journalism major with an emphasis on news and storytelling, and one thing you might not know about me is I played the violin for 8 years.
Wow.
Did not know that.
So you're done? Are you officially retired?
Well, it's so funny because the last concert of my senior year of high school, which is the last time I played, I broke my violin right when the song ended. I put it on my lap and it slipped off and broke. So I have yet to play it again.
Oh my goodness.
That is so sad. Oh my gosh.
Well, I am Channing Reed. I'm the executive producer and reporter at Zoo TV, journalism major. And one thing about me that people don't know, I would say, is, which I already told you all before we started broadcasting this, but I used to want to be a pilot for the longest time. Still had a passion for journalism when I was a kid, but the other career passion was being a pilot. So part of that is due to my dad really loving commercial aviation as well. So he would take me and my brother to the airport every once in a while, and then he bought me a flight simulator game, which was the coolest thing ever. It was so much fun. And so for all of my childhood, that was like my video game that I would play. I know a lot of people were into Halo, but for me, it was Flight Simulator, and I became a huge nerd at it. So
I can see you as a pilot, man. I feel like you'd be one of those kind of pilots who like messes with everyone right before they land. And they're like, "Oh, we're gonna crash."
Oh my goodness!
The voice
I would give my
at ease.
No.
Yes, Pilot Channing.
Oh my gosh, you're so sweet. That's if anything, I would be like a Southwest Airlines flight attendant, the crazy ones where they go on and like sing a song or whatever and it becomes a viral YouTube video. That would
there you go.
I could
another
also
life.
do that.
So I'm Nathan Foster, and I'm currently, I think it's the last day technically, editor-in-chief of Zoo News, which I've served at for about a year and a half now, although I worked for a newspaper for all 4 years. I am a double major in journalism and public relations with a minor in honor humanities like Michaela. And one thing that you guys don't know about me, I would say it's that I'm actually nervous before I write every single story, which is weird because I've written a lot of them and I wouldn't expect to be, but it's just like,
No
I always
way.
want to create something great. And like every time I go to write it, I get really nervous. And I'm just like, all
Is
right,
it
I got to
like
do it. And
writer's
I just start
block?
writing. Not necessarily block. It's just like I have high expectations for myself, and if I'm afraid that I'm not going to meet them, so I just start writing and let it go from there.
Oh, I could never tell that through your work.
Yeah.
At all.
Thanks, man.
Who knew it? Our editor-in-chief is human.
Yeah.
My gosh. Crazy stuff.
Also, I want to say, I mean, I came onto the bandwagon a little late on being a part of Zoo Media, as many know. But Nate, it feels like you've been the editor-in-chief for longer than a year and a half. I don't know. I think it's just your professional.
I think Nate was just born the editor-in-chief.
Yeah.
Like he was just kind of straight into it right out of the womb. I mean,
yeah,
pretty much.
Well, thanks, guys. I try. I mean, I might have been it if I hadn't gone to New York last fall or 2 falls ago. Now I might have been it for 2 years instead of a year and a half, but still.
I want to jump into, obviously, for all of us, this is not exactly the senior year that we probably had in mind, if we're all being honest with ourselves. The last 2 months, I know for me, has been a little crazy moving back home. We've all moved back to our respective homes, hence why we're currently on a Zoom call, which is probably about the 8,000th Zoom call that you've been on over the last several months, if you're anything like me. But I just want to go around. Yeah, I just want to go around and ask, how are we all feeling right now? I can go ahead and kind of start with this one. I know it's certainly not the ending that I would have envisioned, but I think for me, I'm just so used to being home now, and I feel like summer just kind of came like a couple months early, and so my brain is just like already adapted to just like being home for summer. And it's already, as me and Channing, being native Arizonans, well know, it's already, been well over 100 degrees outside several days. So here in the desert, It truly feels like summer.
It really does.
Yeah, and that's been my experience. But I'm curious, for all of you guys, what is it like right now as you think to, commencement would have been yesterday. This isn't necessarily how we would have drawn it up, but how are you guys feeling right now?
I kind of agree with you, Jesse, there. I also feel like I've been in summer mode. It's been like 85, 90 degrees where I live in Lake Elsinore for the past couple of weeks also. So I think like we've just gotten so used to like, coming home for the summer and then kind of getting into the summer mode. Like I'm job hunting different than like, looking for summer jobs, but that's like what I've done in the past. And I think it kind of just hit me yesterday that like, oh, like this is similar to like what I've experienced before, like during summer breaks, but this time like I'm not going back, and I kind of have to like retrain my mind to be like, oh yeah, I'm not going to see everybody like in the fall or anything. So I think like I'm kind of in the stage where I'm like finally realizing that like I'm not going back to college and like that season is done, but I'm really, really, really grateful looking back for all of it. So
yeah, I was kind of feeling okay about it. It was out of sight, out of mind. Who is graduation? Haven't heard of her, haven't seen her in a while. But now that I'm seeing so many people post photos on Instagram of them in their cap and gowns, I'm so angry about it because, well, first of all, I have yet to receive my cap and gown in the mail with my stash, so I can't even take graduation photos as if I was graduating and at least get that sense of like comfort, like, ooh, at least everybody knows I would have been graduating. I just don't have that. And so now I just feel really like anxious and stressed out. Like I'm not having the experience, first of all, that we should have had. And then now the experience that I feel like I should have in quarantine. Like at least I thought I would be able to take photos and post them for everybody to see, and I can't even do that. And now I'm just frustrated, but I'm trying to get over it. It's okay. I'm trying to be calm. But yeah, I still have some residual stress because I have one more paper due in 3 days for William Willis's global journalism class. Shout out to
Yep.
Willis. Oh yeah, Channing's in my class.
Oh yeah.
So I still have that due, and then I'll be okay.
Yeah, I'm right. I'm literally right with you on that, Cheyenne. Like, I personally, I mean, just at first when everything started and like I came back home, I was like, all right, like we can do this. You know, I still have like assignments that I have to do, but I finished everything on Friday and turned in the paper for Willis's class 2 on Friday just because I wanted to be done. But now I'm like, okay, now what? Like literally nothing is on my calendar. And I'm sitting here like, what am I going to do? And I just feel like even more stir crazy now because I'm like, there's nothing to do for me. So I've just been trying to like figure out like different hobbies that I could get back into doing. But yeah, and then with the cap and gown, I have a friend who graduated last year and he was so nice to give me his gown. So I have his gown, but I never ordered the cap yet. And so I feel like I could take a picture with the gown, but I'm like, that doesn't complete the package. I need the cap. So, I don't know. I want to take pictures. I probably will end up taking pictures, but, yeah, I'm still going to have in the back of my mind, like, wow, I don't have like a cap to, flip the tassel or whatever you do in a ceremony. And, but the other thing that I'm wondering is like, I wonder if I should still get it since we're going to have like the ceremony in December. So
Literally me.
Yeah.
Like, am I even going to want it in 7 months? Probably not.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Cause I'm like, okay, how many people are actually going to go? Do we like, I feel like people might be well off, like maybe have started their careers. Who knows, like who's going across the country and stuff like that. I don't know if every senior that's graduating right now will be able to come back.
The only reason I'm doing it is because my mom would kill me if I didn't walk across that stage.
Yeah.
So I have to do it.
Yeah, I feel that.
It's more about our parents than anything else, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm planning on coming back. I mean, not for sure right now because I have to, see my schedule and whatnot. But I mean, I'm planning on coming back more than like the walking across the stage is cool and, your family can be there. It's great. But I kind of want to say goodbye to everybody because I got the chance to say goodbye to a few people, but there were a lot of people that I just didn't get the chance to say goodbye to because we had to leave so quickly. A lot of professors that like never saw them again. I see them over Zoom, but it's not the same. So, and it'll be cool to just see how everybody else who's still at Zoom Media is doing in a few months, But for right now, I was like Cheyenne was feeling. I felt like that for a long time. I felt pretty cheated by this whole situation. Like, you've worked your whole life. Like, we've been in school for 16, 17 years, and it's supposed to culminate in, this walking across the stage, and we kind of just got cheated out of that, robbed from that. So I was really upset about it, but then I realized, and it took a while to realize this, but I realized that, this is happening to millions of other seniors across the country, not even talking about the high school seniors as well.
Right.
And so it still sucks, but it's like, it's easier, it's relatable, and that millions of people are going through it. And so like, it's not just you, and Cheyenne, you still have every right to feel that way. Every senior has every right to feel this way. Yeah, but I'm just grateful that APU did give us the opportunity. I'm sure that a lot of people won't take it, but APU did give us the opportunity to come back in December.
Yeah.
And as of right now, I'm kind of nervous about things coming up over the summer, but I'm just happy to be done. It's a weird feeling, but knowing that I'm done with school, but I'm happy to be done.
I think one of the interesting things about this whole situation that a lot of my adult friends have been telling me about is that this is like the first event in my lifetime that will be remembered for, probably hundreds of years after the fact. And yeah, it's like the first experience that I've had. I guess 9/11, I was like 2, so that doesn't really count. But yeah, this is like the first big event in probably all of our lives that is going to be remembered for, years and years down the road. And I think we're kind of in a unique situation, being people who are, graduating college right in the midst of this. So I'm curious, for all of you guys looking forward to, maybe you're a grandma or grandpa down the road and you're trying to explain to your grandkids, what the coronavirus pandemic in 2020 was like for you when you were graduating college. So I'm curious, Channing, we'll start with you. What would Grandpa Channing's reflections maybe be on a crazy
Grandpa
time
Channing.
like this? Grandpa Channing, there you
Grandpa
go.
Channing. Oh my gosh, I don't know. That is a very interesting question. I mean, I don't know. I think of like how this reminds me of when my mom, she called me when things started to get kind of, it was like the week after spring break, so things were intensifying. And she called me and she was like, "Hey, I think you should come home. Like it's who knows like how bad this could get, but in my experience, like I don't know what she was talking about when she was growing up, but there was not a pandemic like this in her lifetime, but there was some type of event where they, I guess like they were fearful of truck drivers being able to deliver and gas to gas stations and stuff. So that was her main concern. She told me, she was like, so if you're going to drive home, like you should come home now because who knows, like maybe there won't be gas at the gas stations. Anyways, that was her like version of saying, like, this is what I've experienced. I don't know. I think what I would say to my grandchildren, which is very weird to say within itself, because I don't picture myself being a grandparent right now.
Can't imagine why.
Yeah. But I would say just like, and this is just a reminder for me even right now, like just stay positive. I mean, it's hard, but we go through these difficult times for a reason. We learn from it. There are things that we can take away from it. I mean, there's so much that I've taken away already from having to just end the semester so abruptly and be at home with my parents and, burn in the Arizona heat so early on in the year. There's a lot that I've learned, and not being able to work, and so there's a lot that I've learned from, but I think that the main thing to take away from it is like just to try to stay positive and try to understand that like we're all going through this for a specific reason. It's okay to be mad and it's okay to acknowledge the fact that this is upsetting, but at the end of the day, like you should take away like finding the good from it at least. So that's what I would say to my grandkids.
What a great grandfather. My gosh, that is beautiful right there. Channing is already ready.
It's weird to think about because, there's never been anything like this in our lifetimes. 9/11, I guess, on a national scale, like it. Yeah, I mean, I remember the swine flu when that happened, and that was like a drop in the bucket compared to this. And it was weird because I remember I used to work at Starbucks, and I remember I was working there one day, and one of my friends was talking about how afraid she was of the coronavirus, and this was back in like the end of January. And I was like, it's in China. It's not going to come over here. You don't have to worry about it. And honestly, I think a lot of people felt that way. A lot of people.
Oh yeah, like people were joking about it. It was a meme on social media, and
yeah, crazy.
Yeah. I wish it was still like that, but no. I mean, it was just crazy how fast it unfolded. Because I remember I was in New York over spring break, and in the beginning of March, and like this was just when it was starting to get bad. Like the U.S. had just gotten its first case at the nursing home in Seattle, and New York was a lot less crowded than usual. Times Square was like, I don't know, 10th as crowded as I remember it being when I used to live there. And when I got back, I'd heard that Harvard was, kicking its students out, but like that was the only one I'd heard of so far. And then, within a matter of days, like 2 days, AP was like, we're gonna move all the classes online. You can still stay on campus. And then a week later, I said, you know what, just kidding, you have to move out. See ya. And I was like, okay. And honestly, I thought for a long time, this is only going to last a couple weeks. It'll blow over. We'll be everything will be back to normal by the middle of April at the latest. And here we are in the beginning of May, and it's still, I mean, places are starting to reopen now, but it's just going to be weird to look back on, because hopefully there's nothing ever like this again. But it's going to, explain to our grandkids, there was this one time that the world shut down, like everything was like normal, and then a week later it wasn't. Yeah, so I don't think they're going to understand it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still trying to kind of figure out how exactly like I'm going to learn from this, or like the things that I'm going to be able to take away from this. But I think that like when I'm a grandma, my memory is not going to be too hot. Like my memory is already not that great. But I think that the things that I will remember about this time are like the ways that I was able to grow from it, and the things that I think we were able to learn globally, and the things that like are going to be different worldwide because of this pandemic. But I'm also going to remember like the articles that Cheyenne and I worked on, and that the whole student media worked so hard on, and those things, like, they are permanent. Well, they're online, so they're semi-permanent, but like I'll be able to show my grandkids the magazine, and like say like, this is how I was feeling at that time, and this is how like my newsroom and all my friends in journalism, like we were able to like make art and make something out of this time. And so I think that like that's also why I love magazine and newspaper and journalism in general. We can show them this radio show and point back and see everything. But that's one of the many reasons why I love doing media.
I mean, by then this radio show will probably be a hologram or, something wacky like that.
I think that's a great idea. Michaela, you just sparked. I feel like I should journal like what I'm feeling right now, because I was on staff this year, so I wasn't actually in the class, so I didn't write any news articles or magazine articles, which is something I kind of regret and I feel really bad about, but I just didn't have the time to dedicate to that. So I think, at least from reading the articles that people wrote for the magazine, it seems like they've had, like, writing that gave them the opportunity to kind of process what they were feeling, and I haven't given myself that time yet because I thought it wasn't a priority. But now when I'm thinking about this question, I'm like, I don't even know how I feel or what I feel. I'm just trying not to panic, because I feel like everybody around me is panicking, and I feel like that has a lot to do with media's like inciting some panic in one way or another. I'm just really trying to not. My friend works at Stater Brothers, and when it was getting really bad, when nobody could get toilet paper or water bottles, which thankfully we can now, at least I can now, I see them in the stores, but she was saying that she has never seen people fight, like physically fight over cases of water. And I just never want my family to have to do that, or my children or their children. I want them to keep a level head, and maybe just prepare ahead of time. Like, it's not too bad to have an emergency, like kit or something. People have earthquake kits. I feel like not enough people have those, by the way.
I feel that too. I reported on that this semester.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fun fact, I could have used this as my thing. I forgot. I don't think anybody knows. I used to work at a survival store that like we sold emergency kits and stuff like this.
Oh,
It was funny because like when this like started happening, I was like, man, I really wish I had mine right now because it's back home in Reno, and then I'm back here now. But,
no.
but yeah, no, you'd be surprised by like how little food and supplies people have around their house. Like the average person has less than a week's worth of food at their house. So
yeah,
absolutely.
And I just want to add on that, Cheyenne, like what you're saying, like I feel like that's one thing that at least I've learned from this is like we're starting to see how people genuinely act through this pandemic, whether that's violence or you're choosing to not be violent or whatever. I mean, who would have thought that America this day and age, we would be fighting over toilet paper.
Like,
you
can
know?
you not find another way to wipe your butt? Like, I'm sorry.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. And so just like, it shows you the true colors of some people. And that's what that's what I've seen. I've seen on social media, people are being so nasty and rude. And it's just like, wow, you know, you wouldn't expect that person to act that way. But here we are in a worldwide pandemic, and there's mass chaos, like you're saying. And this is the true colors that's coming out of people.
Yeah, I feel like moving forward, as I think about what I would maybe tell my grandkids, I feel like this is going to be the kind of event where you can put a stake in the ground and say that from this point forward, the United States, maybe the world at large, is maybe a little bit different than it was before. I think there will be, maybe just general hygiene will be of much higher value in people's minds. People will be a lot more thoughtful. I think maybe a lot of people have realized that you can accomplish a lot more virtually over Zoom than what maybe we've realized in the past. Who knows? Maybe all of us have, you know, just like completely online jobs in our future because of, you know, things that have happened related to this event. And so, yeah, I think looking back, you know, 30, 40 years from now, there very well may be lessons that I think as a country or even as a larger globally that we've learned that we can take away from this. But moving on from that question, I want to move on to each of our individual stories and kind of this weird transition that we're all trying to make from all of our dream jobs at Zoom Media, right? Like it's basically the best job on campus, to now moving forward into the workplace. We kind of have to find these opportunities for ourselves now. And I know we're all in very different places, especially given the coronavirus. Finding a job currently is just very, very, very difficult. So obviously we're all going to be in different places when it comes to this, but I think it would be fun for our audience to hear, if you don't have a concrete plan just yet, I think people would love to hear, what are you looking for? What kinds of things are you trying to get into? Where do you see your future taking you after Zoom Media? And Nate, we will start with you on this one.
Yeah, so I have a job lined up. I don't actually have a position for sure yet, but I applied for an organization called Teacher America, and you know, they have a mission of you know, giving everyone equal access to good education, because there's a lot of areas in the country that have really poor education. And anyway, so I really love their mission. I was recruited by them, and it's a 2-year commitment. So they send you to an impoverished area, and I got to go to Nashville. So I'm going to be moving out there probably in July. So over the summer I'll be doing online training for about 5 weeks, 8 hours a day. I'm not looking forward to that part.
Hours on Zoom?
Yeah,
No,
8
no,
hours
no,
a day
no,
on
no.
Zoom. Yeah, but I'm excited about Nashville. I have a few friends out there, and
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's super cool.
That's like super exciting. And I also love Nashville too. It's a great city.
Thanks. Yeah, and I'm excited. I've only been there once, but I remember loving it. And I, you know, I'm a big music person. There's a ton of music out there, and unlike most people, I actually don't hate country. And,
I was gonna say you're in trouble if you do.
But and then they also got a ton of great food, so I'm gonna gain a few pounds. Anyways, I do plan on going back into journalism after that. You know, it's only 2 years, and I'm not sure what that'll look like, if that's a newspaper, something in Nashville, or if that's going to be me moving back to New York, which I'd like to. But I'm planning on trying to freelance during those 2 years, and then hopefully turning that freelancing into a job after that.
Cool. That's awesome, Nate.
Yeah, that's really cool, Nate, which I love that you shared that, because I'm kind of in the same boat of taking a break from journalism. So maybe this is a conversation we can have later, but that's my main concern of like, okay, what are my next steps to getting back into journalism after I take a break? But for now, I will share what I have plans for this summer, which is to stay quarantined until things open back up, and which will hopefully be sooner than later. As some people do know, I work at Disneyland, working in the entertainment department there. I've been there for about 3 years, and I love it so much, and I'm not ready to leave that job yet. And I do, if I could, I would love to springboard right into a reporting job at a station, but LA is not the best place for a college graduate to springboard right into a journalism reporting job on TV, considering it's second in the market. So we've tried, and it's been hard. So the idea is to, after a couple of years, I'm going to have to then leave Southern California and probably move somewhere that I don't want to get my foot in the door. But because even here in Phoenix, it's still pretty difficult. You have to have several years underneath your belt of experience. So I'm not too sure what that will look like in the future, but for right now, in the near future, I'm going to move back to Southern California and have a little bit more fun at Disney. But we'll see where the road takes me.
It's got to be hard to leave that Disney job, man.
Oh, so hard. Like there are days where I'm like, I'm going to stay here forever. But then there are other days where I'm like, no, like I want to go tell stories and report. And so I honestly wish I could have the best of both worlds. I could even start as like a writer or an editor at a station in LA, but it's very competitive. So I'm stuck.
I thought you were going to say for a minute a writer editor at Disney, which could be best of both worlds.
Well, it's funny that you brought that up because yes, I could do that. Also, Disney owns ABC, so there could be a nice transition there.
Honestly, who doesn't Disney own? Let's be honest.
I know.
Yeah, for real.
They own ESPN too. You can.
Yeah.
Yep.
Except I have no knowledge on sports, but. If it was a way for me to get into the door, I would do it. I could just fake my way through it.
Fake it till you make it, man. It's my life motto.
Oh no, that's from our editor-in-chief.
Just kidding. I didn't say anything.
Myself, I was blessed to have 3 jobs this second semester of college. And 2 of them were technically internships. Well, one was my internship for my internship class, and the other one was a position on campus. And then the third one was obviously copy editor for Zoo Magazine. But 2 of those jobs wanted to keep me for the summer, and one past the summer. My social media internship at Christchurch Sierra Madre, I've been there since the beginning of January, and ideally it was a 1 to 2 year internship, and they really like me, so they want to keep me.
Nice.
And for the time being, when jobs are pretty sparse, it seems like a pretty good option to me, even though it's not in the journalism realm. It's pretty close. On the captions, I still like to do some lengthier ones. Just as much creativity as I can put into it, I will, because I need to keep flexing those brains since I wasn't in the workshop this senior year, so I haven't written an article in a while. So I like that job. And then the other job, working for Trio Upward Bound, is working with Azusa High School students. And we put on a summer academy, so they want me to stick around and kind of be a tutor, I think. I'm not really clear on what the job is, but I'll take it. It's cash in the bank, and at this point, I could use it. So I'm also worried about what my career in journalism is going to look like after that, because I feel like I'll have nothing to show in my portfolio when I'm applying to jobs. Like, I'm taking this gap. At that
That's
point,
exactly how I feel.
Thank you. Like, at that point, it would be maybe a year or 2 years since I've written anything new. But I've recently found a love for editing, hence my copy editor job. And my supervisor at my internship set me up with a guy in our congregation that works for a big publishing house who needs some help editing. So might do some freelance work for him. I'm contacting him next week, so I'll keep you updated. But yeah, that's what I'm looking like.
Cool. What about you, Michaela?
Like Cheyenne, I am continuing to do some freelancing work. I've been freelancing for Pasadena Star News and San Gabriel Valley Tribune last summer, so I'll probably hit them up again, see if they need any help. And I also recently found out that I became a finalist for the Pointer Koch Media Journalism Fellowship, which one of our professors, Dr. Willis, had sent out an email about application information to us in January. So I went through the first round of applications and I became a finalist. My acceptance, thank you. Acceptance is contingent upon me finding an actual newsroom to be set up with by the end of May. So I have a couple interviews, or I've sent resumes and they're interested. So we'll see how that goes. Clock's ticking on that. So we'll see. But
did you count the San Gabriel Valley Tribune as as a newsroom?
Only if I got hired full time. But okay. I probably could. Yeah, but I'm scared to ask them, low-key.
No, girlfriend, get what you want.
Yeah, you're right. I should ask. The local newsrooms are taking a bit of a hit. So yeah. But they have partner newsrooms too that they work with, and a portal that you can apply to. So I've been doing that. And then if I were to do that, then it'll be a year-long thing. And we'll have bi-weekly mentorship sessions and instructional sessions for ethics and craft and everything. So fingers crossed that all works out, and I'll be able to do that for this next year. But yeah.
Dang, you're right. You're right in the thick of it right now, Michaela. That's some intense stuff over there.
I know, but I'm excited. I'm really excited, especially because I feel like local reporting and investigative journalism or breaking news is so important right now during this time. So I'm really excited to get into it.
Yeah, that's super cool. I'll throw my answer in real quick. My plans are pretty similar to Nate's. I'll be moving up to Washington to become a math teacher at a private Christian high school up there. So I'm super excited about that. But yeah, certainly keeping the doors open to pursue broadcasting or journalism or something along those lines down the road.
You're going to have to.
Yeah, absolutely. I know.
I'm going to be waiting to hear.
Mariners podcast.
There you go. I'll just switch from D-backs to Mariners, right? It's an easy switch.
Yeah.
Do that, or I want to hear you on morning radio. I'm driving to work and I hear Jesse Friedman. I need that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see what we can do, Channing. We'll see what we can do.
Just for you, Channing.
Yeah, just for you. I'll just do the show for you and no one else. So it'll be worth it. I want to jump into my next question for all of you is probably a pretty tough one, because I think I know, Channing, you made a Facebook post the other day outlining the number of words that you had written in your time at Zoo Media, and it was well into the tens of thousands. So
How did you even calculate that?
You know what I did?
I don't know.
This is all that I did, because I am not anywhere close to being smart with math, but I took how many stories I actually wrote, and then I figured, I only write the requirement is 600 to 800, but I always went for the lower requirement of words. So I just did 600 times how many stories that I wrote.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Cause I'm picturing you with a TI graphing calculator, just adding all of these numbers up.
I have not picked up something like that since probably sophomore or junior year of high school. So
okay,
yeah,
got it.
Definitely not.
Not all of us are math majors, man.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. But yes, all jokes aside about all of our math skills. I'm curious for all of you, although I know it's a very difficult call to make given just how much work we have all produced in our time at Zoo Media. Can you pick, maybe a favorite story, news story, magazine story, video, radio show, whatever it looks like for you? Can you pick a favorite piece of content that you created in your time at Zoo Media?
I have two, but I'm just going to share one because for the sake of time. But first of all, just coming on and being a part of Zoo Media was so exciting for me. Not only to do TV, but I got to tap into everything else. obviously it was required, but I was actually excited to do it. So my second Zoo magazine article that I wrote was about ice cream. And if anybody knows me very well, I love ice cream so much. And I found a place called Salt and Straw, and yes, like so good. Anybody listening right now, if you haven't had Salt and Straw's ice cream, go try it. It's amazing. And so I did like a little review on it, and I was so excited because magazine, like news, I love news, and I love like breaking news and hard news. So that's very easy for me to like come across and write. But for magazine, like kind of like what you were saying, Nate, like I was a little bit nervous about what I would write before every magazine article that I wrote. And so like food kind of came up in my mind, and I asked our editor if that would work, and she was like, yeah, go for it. So I went for that, and I'm pretty proud of it, to be honest with you, mainly because I love ice cream, and I was able to portray my thoughts effectively with that. But yeah.
Yes, that is awesome. Hooray for magazine stories. My favorite piece, I would say, well, I have, okay, for magazine, which I spent the last year like really focused on, I would have to say it's been the last 2 issues that we've produced. As a whole, I just think that like I'm really proud of all of the students who they really poured themselves into the last 2 issues, and our designers, you know, the visuals went crazy. Like I just like am so proud of those 2 as a whole. And I would say that also similar to Nate and Channing, like whenever I go to write magazine articles, I get nervous because I'm really good at news writing, but then like magazine writing is so like subjective and like creative, and there's a lot of different ways you could go with it. And so like I don't really like writing or talking about myself, but like for the past 2 issues, I feel like I wrote 2 very personal articles, and those were like kind of difficult for me to write, but also I feel like they fit with the magazine very well, and I feel like they were like I finally was actually able to express how I felt about like everything going on at this time. So for magazine, those were probably my 2 favorite pieces. And then junior year, I was news editor for Zoo News, and I would have to say like the coverage that we did covering the LGBT like ban issues that were going on campus. I was also like very proud of those articles that I wrote, and I had a lot of help from the EIC and a lot of other people as well. So
yeah, those are all good stories. I remember when I was in New York, I was following that, and it was just crazy because you know most of our stories used to get, I don't know, 10, 20 views. Like a really good one might get 50 or 100, and like Michaela's story on the LGBTQ stuff, it was at like 1,000 and then 5,000, and then I think it's probably like 26,000 or something like right now. It's insane. It's so much more than all of our other stories ever, and it was just crazy to watch it, to see how, you know, like a story can blow up and go national. And I was so proud of her and just all the work that our organization was doing back then. As far as stories for me, like this one was really hard. I was looking back at all my stories, and
you've written a lot, Nate. You probably have written far more than any of us have.
Yeah, I think I have the record right now for Zoo News, which is 106. So
not that you're keeping score or anything, but
yeah, Jordan's gonna break that in a few years. He writes like 2 sports stories every single week. But anyways, so yeah, there were a lot of stories I really liked. You know, I love doing athlete profiles. I wrote this one on a girl named Toby McClatt, who was the best women's tennis player that we've had in some time. That was a really fun story. I remember freshman year, I wrote this article on campus safety, issuing like parking tickets. in a corrupt way, and that blew up, like in terms of like the deputy campus safety chief at that time like screamed at the former editor-in-chief because of it, because he said it was inaccurate. I'm like, I literally just used the quotes that you gave me.
Oof.
Yeah, he like threatened. Yeah, he threatened like not to work with us anymore, and I'm like, I don't know. I was a freshman reporter, so it was a little bit scary. But I wrote a story sophomore year on the history of the Honors College because it celebrated its 25th anniversary, and that one was a lot of fun. It was hard because I had 5 interviews for that one, and each of them were almost an hour long. So I had to compress about 90,000 words of interviews into like a 1,000-word article.
Wow.
That one took forever, but I was happy with the way it turned out. And then I would say my favorite one was I got to interview, APU's former president, John Wallace, twice. Once freshman year, and then sophomore year, he announced his retirement, and it kind of took everyone by surprise because he'd been president of APU for 17, 18 years at that point. So as soon as I got the email that he was retiring, or no, I think he announced in chapel actually, I emailed his office and we set up an interview, and I and my former sports editor, Brandon Rodriguez, we went to interview him, and he's just like the nicest guy, the most chill guy you could imagine. And he was open, he was vulnerable with us, and he was just saying how it's his time, and so it was just really fun getting to know him and all the ways that APU has changed over the years, and yeah, so I really like that story. I'd say the best.
What about you, Cheyenne?
The one that sticks out in my mind the most is the Abe Denton tattoo artist piece I did for Lifestyle. It was so fun to write. I think the article came out to well over 1,000 words, and that was already cut down quite a lot. But the interview went great, and there was some drama surrounding it post article, because I think he got in trouble because they're not supposed to run a tattoo business in a university place, I guess. But I didn't know that. But it all turned out okay. But that was
it was still a great story.
Thank you. Yeah, I loved it. I think it's one of my articles, aside from a John Wallace one I did, that has like the most views. I think it has like 300 something. And I just remember refreshing it over and over again because I was like, this is such a fun piece and I hope everybody likes it. And a lot of people did apparently. And I ended up getting my own tattoo from him after I wrote the article. So that's just another memory. He gave me a tattoo and that was so fun. It was only $20 and it came out great. And then another one of my favorites was the recent one we did. I co-wrote with Nate and Ruby about the breaking news about commencement being canceled, because my cousin had emailed me the announcement because it was sent to staff and faculty before students. So we found out and we wrote it really quickly, waited until it was released to students via email, and then we released our article right away. And I have never felt so much adrenaline in my life because I haven't written a news story, first of all, in so long, and then a breaking news story. I was like trying to type and I didn't even know what to do, and it just came out so great, and that had like over 1,000 views, and it was just so much fun. And
2,500. It's got like 2,500 views now.
2,500. It's so much
Whoa.
fun. Yeah, and I just love
That's
seeing
awesome.
my little name on it. I was like, yeah, I'll kind of do something in there. It was a lot of fun to write, so yeah. But I'm definitely a lifestyle writer because that gives me so much anxiety. Even though it is fun, the stress. I can't.
Oh man, it is truly hard to pick one. I think for me, between like all the radio shows and some of the articles I've written, I think for articles, I think I wrote a piece about how the coronavirus was impacting the sports world. And that was, I think that was probably one of the best pieces that I've ever written. I don't think it got that many views or anything, but I think just like from my standpoint, like knowing my level of writing ability after writing that one, I was like, oh wow, I think I'd done something good there. I also, one that I remember is, and you may remember this too, Nate, I covered the when APU announced that we had a new study away program launching online for Zephyr Point. And I wrote about that, and I don't know if we ever figured out how or why, but it got like 3,000 views or something over like a few days. And I'm
I don't
still
know, man.
like,
people are just excited about Zephyr Point.
I guess so. I was convinced there was like some sort of bot or something that was like refreshing the page over and over again to like spike my view count or something. So not totally sure what was up there, but it was also just kind of fun to watch the numbers fly with that one. But moving on from that, we're going to skip down a question. We're going to talk about our takeaways from working in Zoom Media. What are maybe some things, or I guess let's just try to pick one thing that each of us have taken away from our experience in Zoom Media, whether it's something about, how to work in a team, or something about journalism in general, whatever it may be. I'm curious, what's your one biggest takeaway from your time in Zoom Media?
My biggest takeaway from being in Zoom Media is actually Kent and the words that he told me when I first joined, and that was, you actually, I can't remember the exact words that he said, but basically what he told me was, backstory, I had committed to go to Cronkite, the Cronkite School of Journalism at ASU, the best journalism school in the country. And things had changed, and I got recruited to APU to sing in the men's chorale, but obviously still wanted to study journalism. And so when I came, my freshman year, Zoom Media didn't even exist. I think, what was the name of it before Zoom Media?
The Claws.
The Claws.
The Claws was the newspaper, and the ZTV was Capture.
Yeah, Capture. So I had seen a little bit of the content, and then I saw the Claws office, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is not gonna, yeah.
With no AC.
Yeah,
Brutal.
so I was like, okay. And then I kind of went away for a little bit and didn't realize that, the rebranding and everything happened. And so then I ended up joining, and Kent told me, basically, he said that, like, you actually have it better here because you should take the advantage that none of your peers want to be on TV. They don't want to go into the studio and report. So you basically have it all to yourself. And
Very true.
I really, yeah, when I thought about it, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's actually right. Like, if I was at ASU, I'd be fighting people trying to get into the studio just to do one broadcast, but it's like, here I have the freedom to do it whenever I want. And, I'm getting paid to do it. And so I think that's the biggest thing that I'll take away from it was, like, at first I thought, like, wow, I'm going behind, I'm actually taking a step back and deciding to go to APU. But the reality is, like, I've actually probably taken so much more away from it with the creative freedom that I've had to be able to do several different broadcasts and to be able to work with people. So yeah, that's probably my biggest takeaway from working in Zoom Media.
That's really good, Channing. And you're so right about that because, there are very few people in Zoom Media.
I mean,
right
I would
now.
ask people every week, I'm like, does anybody want to go on TV? I'm the only person doing this.
Oh, yeah, I've never done one, and I never will. Hopefully, if I can help. Yeah. I would say that my favorite, my number one takeaway from working in Zoom Media is just to go for it. I think that, like, that applies to, like, everything. Like, if you want to, like, be like an editor or like be in a position, like I was really timid about like pursuing that, although I really wanted to be. And Nate actually inspired me to just go for it, and so I did. And then I kept doing that, and yeah, then I learned a lot from it, and just kept going for the roles. And also, like, I think that that applies to like potential stories or just anything as well. If you like kind of catch wind of like something that could be a story, but you're not sure, just like reach out, just like go for it. Yeah, like that's probably like the number one thing that like journalists have to do constantly. And so I think that Zoom Media is awesome because it just like, they just kind of throw you in and you learn on your feet and you learn how to do that. So yeah.
Oh, Michaela, you stole mine. I was going to say something pretty similar. So I'll just say that. So when I started what was the Claude's freshman year, I took 2 stories the first week. I just wrote this in my article, my final article. I took 2 stories the first week, and like all the editors were like looking at me like I was crazy. They're like, "Do you think you can handle 2 stories?" And I was like, "Handle 2 stories? It's 2 stories. I'm not taking."
What an insulting question, right, Nate?
Yeah. And they were like, "Okay, well, try it." And I wrote them, and I just kept taking more and more stories after that, and I yeah, I would say the thing is volunteer early and often. A lot of people who are in the workshop, and this is not a discredit to any of them, but they're only going to do the bare minimum requirements. So if you only have to do 5 stories a semester, they're only going to write 5 stories a semester. And if you only have to do 2 video packages, then they're only going to do those 2 video packages. But you have the opportunity at Zoo News, at Zoo Media, to do a lot more than that. Like Cheyenne was saying at Cronkite, he would have been fighting for airtime with hundreds or at least dozens of other students. And at APU, I mean, we had the biggest workshop we've ever had. I think we had 30 something people in it this semester, but still, like, that's it's not that many. And you have the opportunity to write these stories, you have the opportunity to make these podcasts and these videos, and build your portfolio like so quickly. And so just go for it. I mean, obviously don't bite off more than you can chew. Don't stress yourself out by taking 50 stories a week or anything like that. But I would say the biggest takeaway is the reason that I was hired as an editor my second semester freshman year is because I just took more stories than anyone else. And that's not trying to sound arrogant. I just, like, if you volunteer to take stuff early and often, Kent will appreciate that, and it'll work well for you in your career too.
Very true.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's something I wish I had done. I think one time I challenged myself, and I took 2 stories, and I was so stressed. I said I'll never do that again. But my number one takeaway was finding my niche. Working with the Convergent media really allowed me to find where I thrive and what I'm happy doing. I don't know if you guys know, but I was a sports journalism major coming into APU. And just because I was a good writer in high school and I liked sports, so I thought the 2 would go perfect, and I'd be a really good sports writer, and I would be on ESPN, like a sideline reporter for football or something. And that after writing for Lifestyle and for the magazine, I found that I didn't really like sports and I liked creative writing instead. So that's my number one takeaway, is now knowing like what I'm happy doing and being able to apply that to my career instead of being stuck in something that I'm not happy in. But yeah, and then also realizing that I kind of like not sports broadcasting. I just said I didn't like sports broadcasting. I like broadcasting in general. I wanted to be on TV for a little while there. I took a year off, or a semester off, and I went to South Africa. So I didn't really get to do a lot of, obviously, writing for the media center. And when I came back, it was Convergent. And I was like, I'll try my hand at television journalism one more time, because I had taken TV journalism freshman year when they were all separate. And I kind of liked it. And, I had hosted a couple times with Channing, and I co-hosted with Ruby, and it was a lot of fun. I just hate re-watching it and seeing my blank face. I have like these death hole eyes.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do. But I know I kind of regret not hosting more. I don't know. I just got busy because I was working a lot this last semester. But it's something I like to do, and I would like to experience it more.
I think for me, obviously Kent has had a big role to play in all of our lives at this point, given, all the time that we spend in Zoom Media. And I think for me, a big takeaway was just the power of having someone who really believes in you and really trusts in you, kind of leading leading the whole effort. And I know there were many times throughout my time at Zoo Media where Kent would listen to something that I created, and he would just really be honest, like, hey man, this is really good. Like, you are very good at this. And I feel like all of us have had those moments where Kent was just like, just very encouraging and very, very honest. It wasn't like he was giving us these empty words of encouragement that he didn't really mean. But I think he really stepped into that role as advisor in a really cool way of just, kind of, putting his hands in what he needs to, but really letting us take the helm. And there was just a lot of power in that. But Kent, if you're listening, don't worry, we're going to roast you a little bit later. So it's not all encouraging words. But yes, I want to move on to, as we move here toward the end, for those of you listening still with us, we appreciate you're sticking with us through what has turned out to be a very long show. But I know I've enjoyed it, and I'm sure you guys all have as well. But I want to talk about our favorite memories from our time in Zoo Media. This one I can go ahead and start off. It's almost impossible to say, but one thing I really enjoyed in my time at Zoo Media happened literally a few weeks ago when, for the first time ever, I hopped on Zoo TV with Channing. We co-hosted. It was
you stole mine.
Oh, well, there you go. I'm sorry, Channing. It's okay. You can, still there for you if you want it. But yeah, it was just, it was a lot of fun fighting with the technical issues we had. It was not necessarily the smoothest in the world. But yeah, it was just very, very fun. Even though we're, obviously trying to, do a TV broadcast in very unexpected circumstances, but it was a blast. And I think I learned a lot from it. Just like getting on, in front of a screen, which I'm used to hiding behind the radio microphone and never showing my face, which is just like a comfortable place for me. But I think branching out was just a, a powerful experience that I had. But yeah, what about the rest of you guys? Favorite memories of time in Zoo Media?
Well, I mean, if I could just piggyback off of that for a second. I mean, I literally was going to say that. I have two, but one of them was that. For me, like on my side of it, like I have always wanted to, and before coming to college, like I would do my own shows and stuff to try to get, because I thought I needed a reel for college. So I would do my own shows and stuff, and I always thought like I just want to have someone else like to do the news with and to be on TV with, and I didn't get a chance to do that through all these years in college and being on Zoo TV. I really wanted to give other people the opportunity of that, but I really, really, really wanted to do that as well. So it just popped into my mind. I was like, okay, we're going to do one final broadcast, and I just want to see if I can do it with somebody. And so I asked Jesse, and it just, honestly, he's so right. There were a million technical difficulties. My Wi-Fi is horrid. And so, and I don't even know how many takes we did, Jesse, because I was like, I just want it to be perfect. And then even after that, like I literally had a moment where I was like, I just thought to myself, like, am I crazy? Like, how am I doing this? Why did you decide to do this? Because I think I spent probably a good, in total, around 8 hours editing. And once I literally finished, the news breaks that they postponed graduation to December. And the story that we had already said in the update was, we haven't heard yet from the administration on whether there's going to be an alternative for graduation. So the news breaks and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't post this right now. So I then texted Jesse and I was like, hey, is there any possible way you can just do like a voiceover? I'll put B-roll over it and just change the wording on that. And he did, and I was able to get it up. And I have to say, it is my most proud Zoo TV broadcast ever. I was so like excited that I was able to put the split screen in there, and yeah, so definitely probably my favorite memory. The other thing on Zoo TV that I also love was being able to interview Dr. Ferguson when he was announced that day. He was out on Kresge Plaza, and that was really fun because I honestly felt like I was a real journalist in that moment, because I was singing in chapel that morning, and I left ran out to my car, got my camera, and then ran straight to the campus, or to the plaza on West Campus, and I was filming as soon as I got there, and I just felt like I was it was a movie scene in my eyes.
You actually stole mine because I think I
Oh
was
no,
that day.
we're all stealing each other's.
Yeah,
Oh, you were with me.
Yeah, and I was like, I remember both of us saying like, wow, we feel like a real journalist.
Yeah.
It just felt, it did feel like a movie. It was crazy. And I think that later that day, or I helped you film while you were interviewing or something like that, and then you were editing, and then later that day, Nate had interviewed Dr. Ferguson, and then I transcribed
that's
interview
right.
for him. And that definitely, like, the collaboration on that project, I think, was one of my favorite memories, or just like my favorite thing about Zoo Media is the collaboration and like how you get to know people like through that, and just through like, I think like I don't have a specific memory, but it's just like all of the long nights in the newsroom where you were working with your friends on projects or layouts or whatever, and then you just like, I don't know, you're really tired, it's midnight, and then like everyone's acting silly. Like I'll always cherish those memories.
Well, nobody stole mine, so that's great. One of my favorite memories is the first television broadcast I did with Zoo TV. It was 2 years ago, and it was for Christmas Chaos. I think that's what it was titled on YouTube. I'm trying to look it up right now, but it was the first one I had ever done, and it's so funny to look at because I had just dyed my hair black, which was not a good decision. I didn't have anything nice to wear, so I borrowed one of my roommate's shirts, which I later found out was a pajama shirt, but it looked fancy enough to me, so I went ahead and wore it. And I was filled with so much anxiety because it was the first time, and there's, the little speaker, what's it called? The little thing in your ear, people's talking to me.
IFB.
Yes, thank you, Channing. It was just such a fun experience, and after it was posted, I felt famous. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm on TV, I'm somewhere on YouTube. I think, so I'm looking at it right here on YouTube, and it has 100 views, and I'm pretty sure 99 of those are my mom refreshing it. And she shared it all over Facebook, and I was so embarrassed because it's just not a look, but it was a lot of fun, and that's something I'll remember forever. And then one of the other first packages I put together for an article I wrote was about the farmers market that goes on in the parking lot behind Trinity Hall, in the Citrus College parking lot on Thursdays, I believe. And I had to do a live stand-up, so I had interviewed all these people. I set up the tripod and just kind of stood there, and I was with one of my other classmates, and it's the same thing as Michaela and Channing. I felt like a real reporter because people were crossing behind me and they didn't know who I was or what I was doing. But I rewatched the footage, and it's what you see on live TV, on the news, with people kind of just standing there staring at you or trying to like make funny faces in the background. So you have no idea this is just for a class. But you go ahead and you get your 5 minutes of fame. But it was a lot of fun. And then I think I had one other one. This was mostly about Kent, and it was with my media entrepreneurship class, where we had to create our own.
Girls.
Yes, we had to create our own YouTube channel, and mine was Spooky Girls, and it was so much fun. But I mean, our content wasn't great. It was pretty bad, but for some reason, Kent loved it so much. And every time I see him, he always calls me a spooky girl. And I bring it up because I just got a postcard from him in the mail, and he put like, "Hey, spooky girl," and I was like, oh my gosh, he'll never let that die. And it's on YouTube, and it's hopefully my future employers don't see it, but it's good.
Dude, what are you talking about? That's like YouTube gold right there.
Our whole thing was to be spooky and talk about spooky things and visit spooky places. And we never did any of that, except one night we went to a bridge nearby, near GMR, and it was at night, probably like 11 p.m. It was really scary, and we finally show up, and our whole thing was to get down, kind of like Blair Witch Project, with our camera and just explore and get scared. But none of us had the courage to get out of the car, so we literally drove all the way down there, turned around, and went right back home. Stopped, got McDonald's across from APU, and kind of just vlogged in there, and then we uploaded it. And it was so funny. That's always going to be a favorite memory of mine as well. But yeah.
What about you, Nate?
It's tough, man, like to try to think back all that way, but I really loved freshman year. I would say we in old Claw's office, we would put the newspaper together, and I don't know if it was just because we were really bad at it or we started later or what it was, but we used to be in there until like 2 or 3 a.m. almost every single Monday night. And we did a lot more issues because like this past year and a half, we've only done 6 issues this semester, and we used to do like, I think it was 9 or 10 or 11, something like that. It was a lot. But we all got to know each other very well, because you're in there for, I don't know, what, 5-6 hours into the wee hours of the morning. And I don't know why or when, but just at a certain point, we all started yelling at each other. Like, instead of talking to each other in like a normal voice, my friend Brandon would like scream at me and he'd be like, "Nate, can you help me with this layout?" And I'd be like, "Okay, sure." And then we would all start like just screaming at each other for like hours. Like I'm sure the people, because like there was not very good.
Wouldn't that be the definition of crackhead hours?
Yeah, I think so.
I hear everyone say that.
Yeah, we there were a lot of interesting things that, like, I can't really think of any right now, which kind of sucks, but like I went a little bit deaf after those nights, and I think the people out on Cougar Walk, because the Claw's office did not have great sound editing, were probably like, "What's going on in there, man?" But but that was a lot of fun. And then actually, I would say this past year, one of the things I tried to do as being editor in chief was to really bring the Zoo News staff together more like a family. Not that the rest of Zoo Media was not like that, but I just I had the opportunity to we'd be in there for production nights, and so I used to buy my staff Domino's because that was the best pizza I could afford, and
Classic.
we would just hang out for half an hour before putting the newspaper together and eating Domino's, and it was a lot of fun. There were some things said there that I can't repeat on air, but yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Well, speaking of things we can't repeat on air, we have a few Kent stories that we can repeat on air. So yes, we've had obviously a lot of fun times hanging with Kent, our lead advisor at Zoo Media over the years, and we have some fun stories about our leader that we would like to throw out there here as we finish off the show. Yeah,
I'll start. So this is just, it's great. I laugh still thinking about it. And it actually happened pretty recently. It happened this year, this semester. But I was doing the update one Monday evening, and we finish it, and we realized that there's like, the camera wasn't focused all the way. So Kent, and normally after every production, like Kent will come and he'll look at it and just make sure that, things are okay with it. It sounds fine. The lighting's great. And he noticed that it was blurry. So we spent some extra time looking at this clip and trying to figure out, okay, how can we in post-edit try to sharpen it and make it look a little bit better? And then Kent starts realizing what's behind me. And what was behind me in the shot was him talking to another workshopper. And he realized that his sweater was hideous. And that's all he could talk about. He was like, "Oh my gosh, this sweater, like, I cannot believe I'm wearing this. I can't believe I look like this." He's like, "You guys, why didn't you guys tell me? Why didn't you guys tell me that I look like this?" And I was like, "Kent, I wasn't even paying attention. Like, first of all, you're sitting behind me." And so he was just telling me and Carly, and then he was like, "I can't believe my wife, like, told me that I looked good walking out the door this morning." And it was just the funniest thing. And now, like, every time I look at that video and I just see him behind, and it's classic. Like, it's just great. So that's my funny story about Kent, and I'm never going to forget it. And I have that video downloaded in case if it just magically disappears from our YouTube channel for any reason. But yeah, and then also just like on a soft note, like I just have to say, Kent, if you're listening, we love you so much. I love you personally. Like, you have changed my life and you've made it for the better. I honestly think that I am so prepared now to be a journalist, and I just appreciate like what both Jesse and Nate were saying, like the amount of creative freedom that you support. I mean, it was so funny being able to like, I think there were so many times where I was come up to Kent and ask him like, hey, like, is this fine? Or like, what am I supposed to do? And he's like, just do it. Like, doesn't matter, you know? And I thought that was huge for me, because it showed me how to tap into my creative talents. And yeah, so Kent, thank you so much. And I hope you are listening, because there's more roasts to come.
Yeah, he better be listening.
Yeah, speaking of roasts, there are certain stories that I can't tell, but there's 3 stories about Kent that, oh man. So one of them was, I think it was sophomore year. He came into class one day, and Kent has a very distinctive look. We were talking about it before we started doing this, and he's always wearing chinos. He's always wearing either a polo in summer or a sweater in the rest of the year. It's just a very distinctive look. And then he's got, he's always got this beard, his hair, and this one time he walked into class, and I'm like, who is that? And then I was like, oh my God, that's Kent. And Kent had shaved his beard, and he was like a baby. His face was so it just, I couldn't ever look at him the same after that, because like I don't know, he had like the chipmunk cheeks, and oh man, I love that guy. And you should definitely look it up if you can. I think it's on his Instagram still. But that was pretty fun. Another one, also sophomore year, I was in a sports broadcasting class with him. I was actually also in a sports history and economics class. They were back-to-back 3 hours on Wednesday from 4:20 to 10:40 at night. So we got to know each other very well in those classes. And this one time it came out, Kent told us that he had a meme account on Twitter that people, when he used to be a reporter, I think it was in Arizona, people like made a meme account of his flag head, and we just spent like hours looking through all these old like things of his forehead, because like I didn't think it was that bad, but then when you look at his pictures,
his forehead, you said?
Yeah, his forehead, because he has a big forehead, so we used to joke that he had a flag head.
Okay,
yeah.
I'm gonna go on his Instagram right now and look at pictures.
Yeah, it's amazing. And he's very cool with it. He loves roasting himself, and like I think it actually had like 10,000 followers at one point. It was
Wow.
Yeah, definitely look it up, Kent Walls Fivehead. And then final one, this happened actually just like 2 months ago, I'd say. We were in our meeting on Monday night, and Kent always gives a little speech to start out with, and he was talking about whatever, and part of the way through I noticed that his fly was down, and I tried to pull him over discreetly after he was done talking. I didn't want to interrupt him, and I was just like, hey Ken, can you come over here real quick? And he was like, what's up, Nate? And I was like, hey man, just want to let you know your fly's down. And he's like, my fly is down? He yelled it.
I remember that too, because yeah, it was very not discreet.
I'm like, dude, I was trying to help you out. I was trying to do you a solid. And he's like, I don't care, man. Just tell me my fly is down. How did nobody tell me that? I'm like, all right. Yeah, but just to go off what Shannon said, yeah, Ken, dude, you changed my life. And I would not be where I am today. I would not be who I am today if I had not learned from you. I wrote him. I also got a postcard from him in the mail last week, like Cheyenne, and I emailed him back just like saying thank you and how much of a role model he's been. But I remember I have a video on my website of me talking about this, but the biggest thing that I ever learned from Ken was in the first day of his class in digital news gathering freshman year. I think Makayla, you were in that class, right? Yeah, he said, picture your dream job and you could be working there tomorrow. and he talked about this APU journalism student who had graduated a couple years earlier, who I think he I don't remember, was outside of the Staples Center after a Lakers game, and it was right after the previous head coach Mike D'Antoni, I think that's his name, had been fired, and she had captured like a picture of him walking out and posted on social media, and apparently got hired. I don't know if it was by like ESPN or something after that. And that's the way this industry works, is you just need, one viral moment story to get all these crazy job offers, and that incentivized me to work as hard as I am to try to get that one story that could get me my dream job. So Kent, you inspire me every single day. I feel like I work a lot. I worked 3-4 jobs the past year, about 50, 60 hours a week. And I don't even think I worked anywhere half as hard as Kent. Like, he's always working. He's always, I don't know, he lives 2 hours away and drives to APU every day. And you inspire everybody, Kent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, Kent, if you're listening, we hope you feel the love. We hope you feel a little bit roasted at the same time, but we hope you feel the love more than anything else. That is the end of our program here today. If you're still listening, honestly, you're amazing, because this show is by far the longest radio show I've ever been a part of in my time at APU. But I know we all have certainly enjoyed it. We hope you who are listening have as well. To everyone out there who has agreed to hop on and do this with me, to jump on the bandwagon, thank you to all of you for participating. Certainly appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having us.
Thanks.
Yeah,
for
thank
putting
you.
it together.
Absolutely. I think this is maybe more about us just having a good time to kind of replay all of these memories from our time in Zoom Media, if nothing else. But we hope for you who are listening, we hope you've enjoyed our show here today. And that, as I said, is all that we have. So for Channing Reed, for Cheyenne Jimenez, for Michaela Ricaforte and Nate Foster, my name is Jesse Friedman, and it has been a pleasure serving as the GM of Zoo Radio for the last several years. And for the final time, we say so long for now.